square off against Barack Obama. Monday night's audience could soar well past that. Analysts suggest it could top 100 million viewers. No pressure, Lester. And become one of the most viewed political events in the history of television. Holy moly. Both candidates are now deep in debate prep, but Mr. Trump will hold a rally in Virginia tomorrow. And we're also hearing that Hillary Clinton plans to head to Charlotte, North Carolina on Sunday, where violent riots have raged over the police-involved shooting of a black man there earlier this week. We'll have more on that in a moment. But first to the main event, the presidential debate. Charles Krauthammer, Chris Stirewalt, and Howie Kurtz are with me in a minute to discuss what's at stake. Mark McKinnon of The Circus is here with some behind-the-scenes look at the campaigns and debate prep. And we'll look at the latest numbers with Larry Sabato, who has research on how the big showdown could move the polls. But we begin tonight with campaign Carl Cameron reporting from Trump Tower in New York City. Carl?
Thanks, Megan. Both candidates are intensively preparing for this debate. They know that it has a great potential to be a decisive moment in the election, and if there's a huge moment, it could virtually decide it, notwithstanding the two other presidential and vice presidential debates that follow it. They are preparing quite differently. Hillary Clinton has been working in mock debates with a sparring partner. No one knows who that is. It's a very tight secret. She's been working very hard to memorize a whole series of some of Trump's more colorful and what she considers to be objectionable comments. Donald Trump's not working with a mock debate or a sparring partner. He's had a steady stream of advisors working with him, and he began his debate prep really right after the Republican National Convention, when they began fairly regular Sunday afternoon meetings in New Jersey with a team of debate advisors. Most notably in it, Rudy Giuliani seems to have become a really important advisor in this process. And one of the things that Trump has been told to do by all of his team is to focus on policy answers that are tight, that are aspirational, talking about what his goals and priorities will be, but not to get bogged down too much in details. If he can avoid any missteps, it has the opportunity to be a huge achievement for him, since the expectations are low, and because Hillary Clinton's been prepping so intensively, expectations for her are pretty high. Megan?
Carl, thank you. Carl mentioned Rudy Giuliani, and he's here shortly, but right now we want to bring in our panel. Charles Krauthammer, a Fox News contributor and syndicated columnist, Chris Stirewalt, our Fox News digital politics editor, and Howie Kurtz, host of Media Buzz on FNC. Great to see you all. And so when you see how these two are preparing to go against each other, it's like two silverback gorillas. You know, they're studying each other, and it's like a modern warfare situation where they're saying Trump is studying her body language and verbal tics, getting ready to exploit weaknesses based on a statistical analysis of videos from 16 years worth of Clinton's debates. This is according to Politico. They've identified her tells, words, phrases, or gestures she uses when she's unsure of an answer or is trying to deflect, and he is ready to pounce if it happens. Let me start with you on that, Charles. Could be pretty effective.
I think it's insane over preparation. You stuff your head with that, you won't be able to speak. It's like, you know, a young rookie who goes up to the plate and has learned every idiosyncrasy of the pitcher to the point where his mind stops working. And then some happy-go-lucky guy shows up who's been drinking all night and just acts on instinct. Now, Trump is the one who gets the reputation for being the happy-go-lucky guy who doesn't prepare, and I think that's part of that is spin. I mean, there is so much spin here.
He's preparing.
You know, you can really get the vertigo. There's a pre-debate spin of the post-debate stuff that's going to happen, and we're deep into that. I'm not sure I believe anything coming out of anybody's camp. It's all going to be, we're going to see what we're going to see, and we'll do the spinning afterwards.
One of the things she needs to watch out for is what we saw from her this week, Stirewalt, where for some reason she sometimes resorts to screaming her points, and here is an example of that.
Now, having said all this, why aren't I 50 points ahead, you might ask? Well, the choice for working families has never been clearer. I need your help to get Donald Trump's record out to everybody. Nobody should be fooled.
Yeah, I mean,
nobody should be doing that.
I wonder why you're not 50 points ahead. Golly gosh, you sound like an enraged pterodactyl. I don't know why you're just not winning all the points. Hillary Clinton struggles when they tell her, this is the terrible advice that Hillary Clinton gets over and over and over again. Be yourself. Be yourself. No, not like that. Not like that. Not like that. No, exactly. They say be yourself, and they say, actually, we don't like it. Be somebody else.
Right.
And the problem for her is, I don't know that she knows anymore who her real self is.
That calm delivery we saw at the Democratic National Convention worked for her. The screaming is a different story. But, you know, obviously, Howie, Trump has got a lot of weaknesses she can exploit as well, including, you know, the number of controversies he's created. And we heard Carl Cameron report that she is studying his objectionable comments, which, you know, is going to take her from now till the next election. But she's probably going to zero in, judging from the campaign ad she just released today, on, among other things, his comments about women. Here's a flavor of what she just released.
I'd look her right in that fat, ugly face of hers. She's a slob.
She ate like a pig.
A person who's flat-chested is very hard to be a 10.
Does she have a good body? No. Does she have a fat? Absolutely.
So you treat women with respect?
I can't say that either.
All right, good.
Is this the president we want for our daughters? Howie?
I don't think Hillary Clinton's going to bring up the flat-chested remark, and it seems like the shrinks are in charge of this debate. Everybody's trying to psych each other out.
This is a man who has referred to women as fat pigs and dogs and slobs.
Oh, she may say a somewhat cleaned-up version of that, sure. Look, the pressure is on Trump for this reason. He's the X Factor. He's the reality show guy who wants to be put in charge of the nuclear codes. And this whole campaign, let's face it, has turned on his personality and his temperament and his insults, and he has to use these debates to magically pass the commander-in-chief threshold. Now, Hillary Clinton is the boring but dependable bureaucrat. She's a government lifer. She's lived in the White House. She knows the briefing books back and forth. The bar for her is to connect with voters who are either don't like her, tired of her, wary of her, and also to deal with the honesty and trustworthy question that has dogged her throughout this campaign.
That's tough to do in a debate setting. You know, that's more of a press conference situation. You can sort of try to prove to people that you're honest, you're forthcoming. Charles, what do you see as his biggest risk going into Monday night?
Look, I think he's got the biggest opportunity because he's behind, not by as much as he was, but he is behind, so he needs to do well. On the other hand, he's got the low bar, an absurdly low bar. And Hillary has done this because she has reproduced the appalling stuff he has said in all of those ads. She's portrayed him as a guy who can't be allowed near the White House, so that all he has to do is to show up and not froth at the mouth and appear reasonably normal. Charming would be a splendid bonus, and he wins. So it's been set up in a way, and I think he plays into it, where he doesn't have a lot that he has to do, simply have to control himself for 90 minutes. Now, with him, that could be a challenge, but nonetheless, you know, for other folks, that generally is okay. 90 minutes, I'm sure Starwald or Howie can pull it off if they try.
I don't know. It goes off the rails often in just a 5-minute segment on the Kelly File. But I want to ask you this, because Trump has gotten into trouble in the past for being too, I am the only one who can fix it. It's all about me. I will make America great. I like an imperial presidency, which conservatives believe we're just getting out of, right? And this plays into something that's getting some attention today online. It comes from a Frontline documentary that's going to come out next week, involving many people talking about Trump, but including one of the Celebrity Apprentice or the Regular Apprentice contestants, Omarosa. Listen to this.
Every critic, every detractor will have to bow down to President Trump. It's everyone who's ever doubted Donald, whoever disagreed, whoever challenged him. It is the ultimate revenge to become the most powerful man in the universe.
I don't know about that, but your thoughts about how that narrative, that belief, and that messaging from Trump himself about it's me, it's all about me, could endanger him on Monday.
We come together at a time of crisis. The country is at the abyss, and only I can fix it. These are dark days for America, and you bet. And so you're going to hear Trump, the law and order, our cities are burning, America is at the edge, we're falling apart, we're being picked apart by our adversaries, and that we need a strong man, emphasis on the man part probably, to take care of America at this dreadful hour.
Because strength works for him. Strength works, but just too much imperialism, maybe not.
Right, and especially when Hillary Clinton sticks it up his nose.
Go ahead, Charles.
The flip side to painting the situation today as apocalyptic is to paint himself as messianic. You remember in the acceptance speech he gave in Cleveland, he said, he didn't say, I'm going to reduce crime and violence. He said, I'm going to abolish it. Now, nobody has done that, going back to King Tut. They've all tried it, and I don't think any of them have ever promised to abolish crime and evil in the world. He did it in a written speech. This is the kind
of fact-checking the American people want to see on the spot from Lester Holt. I hope he's watching this.
That's my job. That's all that psychiatric training.
Go ahead, Howie.
But remember, Trump has more TV experience than anybody who's ever run for president. I don't think he'll be asking people to bow down and kiss the ring. It reminds me of Reagan in 1980, in that, painted as a dangerous cowboy, needed to come out and won that election against Jimmy Carter by reassuring the country that he could handle the job. I wouldn't underestimate Donald Trump's ability to adjust his debating style for this Monday's debate.
Before I let you go, I have to get this in real quickly. Ted Cruz today finally reversed himself and said he's endorsing Donald Trump, notwithstanding this expression of his feelings about Trump on May 3rd.
I'm going to tell you what I really think of Donald Trump. This man is a pathological liar. The man cannot tell the truth, but he combines it with being a narcissist. Everything in Donald's world is about Donald. The man is utterly amoral. Morality does not exist for him. Donald will betray his supporters on every issue.
Charles, thoughts on that?
Yes, and that's why we need him in the White House. That's the secretary that completes that argument.
It's great to see all of you. Looking forward to Monday night.
Great to see you.
You bet.
Politicians are fun. Well, my next guest believes this may be the most important debate in U.S. history. The campaigns have given him unprecedented access, and here's a sneak peek from this week's episode of Showtime's groundbreaking documentary series, The Circus.
There's nothing more exciting, more competitive, or more unpredictable than a presidential campaign in the United States. Mayhem, madness, chaos. If you can't get excited to see how this thing's going to end, you should go to your doctor and get a physical.
This is nothing like we've ever seen before.
Crazy has happened all throughout this year.
Here we are, sprinting, just a few weeks to go. This is the closest an American woman has ever been to the White House.
When there are no ceilings, the sky's the limit.
The most important thing is confidence. Trump is not lacking in that department.
Something's going to have to give here.
We will make America great again.
We think the first debate will be the most watched television event in history, and probably the single greatest driver of the outcome of this election.
Joining me now, Mark McKinnon, co-creator and co-host of The Circus on Showtime. He also served as chief media advisor to President George W. Bush. Great to see you, Mark. So it is
so
exciting.
Excited about this debate.
I'm so excited about it too. And why? I mean, we just saw in that clip, this is going to be like nothing we've ever seen before.
Well, because the stakes are so high, and this has been such an epic race, and been so unstable. We really don't know the outcome of this election. I mean, every other election is pretty easy to predict what might happen. We have no idea in this election. We've been wrong so many times. And I really think that given the stakes are so high, that if somebody wins this debate, is perceived to have won it, they will probably win the election. The stakes are that high.
And the unpredictability of Trump is playing a huge role. You know, when he calls himself the ratings king, he's right about that. Trump rates on a normal night, but on a night like this, with somebody who's such an unpredictable television character, you tell me whether, you know, anything could happen.
Well, anything could happen, and he knows that. I mean, he's the guy who understands television, understands drama, so you can surely count on that he's going to bring out some surprises during the debate. I think that he's got the easier task in this debate. Number one, obviously, is the expectations game, which are so low for him. The other thing is that these two candidates both have problems. His problem is that people perceive that he might have a temperament problem. Her problem is that people see her as as not being honest or honest or trustworthy.
Mm-hmm.
He can fix that problem in a debate. It's harder to fix hers in a debate. So all he has to do is really get through the debate without coming off the chain. And it'll go a long way toward people just looking at him and saying, okay, I can see him as president.
So as the guy who used to do this for a living, what would be your main message to him? Keep your cool?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Keep your cool, because all he has to do is qualify. What she has to do is disqualify. And I assure you that she's going to use 90 minutes to prosecute him over and over and over again, thinking that at some point he's going to unwind and come after her, and that's when she knows she's got him.
Mm-hmm. And she better have a Ludens or something like that before she goes out there, because there's no commercial breaks.
I think she's going to bring. They're game players, both of them, and I think that she's going to be very well prepared, obviously. And she's done a lot of debates, and he's done a lot of television. So bring those two together, it's going to be spectacular.
Exciting. We're going to be together, Mark. I'll see you Monday.
Kick it hard. See you Monday.
Kick it. Love that. So we have seen presidential debates produce big polling swings.
The insight, the smart, real conversation America wants to hear. Don't miss it on a special Kelly File Monday.
Breaking tonight, 46 days until the election, 3 days until the first debate, and 2 national polls showing Hillary Clinton tracking slightly ahead of Donald Trump tonight. First, in Wednesday's Wall Street Journal poll, Mrs. Clinton is up by 6 points in a 4-way race. Then today from Marist, Mrs. Clinton again up by 6 points. But based on some numbers we pulled from the last several debates, that could all change after Monday night. Joining me now on that is the director of UVA's Center for Politics, Larry Sabato. Larry, good to see you. So just a word on the polling. So does that show a trend in her favor, or does that show a trend in Trump's favor? In other words, was she up more in those polls, or what are you seeing?
Well, look, I look at the polling averages, Megan. I'm a broken record on this because, you know, in this election, if you don't like the polls, they kind of remind me of the British weather.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't like it, wait an hour and it'll change. And the same is true with the polls. So you got to go with the averages. She's up about 3 or 4. As you note, things can change once people see the debates. And, you know, I want to analyze it after I see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we're seeing just across the swing states a tightening. I mean, at least it appears. Colorado, they're tied right now. She was up by 10. Michigan, she's up by 4. She was up by 10. New Hampshire, she's up by 5. She was up by 9.3. So there's definitely been a tightening going into this debate. And the question for you is whether these debates will matter, because we go back to the first debate 4 years ago. Mitt Romney was widely believed, even by President Obama, to have cleaned President Obama's clock. What difference did it make?
In the long run, absolutely nothing. And Megan, you just hit on the critical point that people are ignoring in looking at the debates. What has happened, with only one exception that I'll mention, but what has happened in some of these past debates, most of these past debates, they move the needle 1, 2, 3, 4 points in somebody's direction, and the debate effects dissipate within a week or 10 days.
That's all they get?
Basically, they get a week or 10 days. The exception was Ronald Reagan in 1980, but that's because the only debate was held a week ahead of the election. There wasn't time for it to dissipate.
What is the challenge to Trump here? Because this is we only saw him with 4 people. We've never seen him go, one-on-one. I don't think he's ever done a debate one-on-one. And he had a much different dynamic in the primary process.
Yeah, in the primaries, he could hang back and let the other 16 candidates debate policy. He didn't have to have a command of the facts about many of those policies. He may be put on the spot by Hillary Clinton and the moderator. I suspect it is going to happen. It's 90 minutes. So, you have to know something to answer some of these questions. We'll see how he does. Obviously, there are problems for both candidates over 90 minutes.
Well, exactly, because she's never faced somebody like Donald Trump. With all due respect, at Martin O'Malley. I mean, this is going to be unlike anything she's ever experienced.
Yes, even Bernie Sanders. I don't think Donald Trump is going to say, "I'm tired of hearing about your damn emails." I suspect he's going to be adding a lot about her emails during the course of that debate.
It's incredible. I know that you're calling for fact-checking by the moderators. I have to just say, she wants fact-checking of statements like this. If Trump says, Clinton supports open borders, Clinton wants to get rid of the Second Amendment, you tell me that's absurd. That's not the moderator's job to say, no, her position on open borders is this. Or, I mean, that's opinion. That's an argument a politician gets to make on that stage.
Yeah, essentially, it's up to the other candidate to correct mistakes made by his or her opponent. The moderator, in my view, should intervene mainly to ensure that both candidates are getting approximately equal time. That's the moderator's job, and also to stop candidates from interfering with one another's answers. You can't have people talking over one another, and I don't think most viewers like that.
Agreed. Larry, great to see you.
Thank you, Megan.
The audience can't say anything at this debate either. They have to be very quiet. We've got breaking news tonight out of Charlotte, North Carolina, where protesters just shut down a park.
Fox News, it's the Kelly File with Megyn Kelly.
Breaking tonight, new protests on the streets of Charlotte just hours away from a midnight curfew for the second straight night. Earlier today, the Clinton campaign announced that she would be traveling to Charlotte this weekend. Then right before we came to air, Charlotte's Democratic mayor asked that no candidates visit that city in the middle of all of this. No update from the Clinton campaign. Mayor Rudy Giuliani took the helm of the Big Apple when it was considered a crime capital of the country. And under 8 years of his leadership, the violent crime rate dropped by 56%, helping make New York one of America's safest big cities. Mr. Mayor, it's great to see you tonight. So, you know, the amount of misinformation that gets put out there. What we heard from some people was that Mr. Scott was just holding a book, not a gun. We don't know whether there's a gun in that video. We hear cops saying over and over, drop the gun, drop the gun. I haven't heard anybody say he was holding a book. Even the wife isn't saying that's just a book. And then they were telling us that the cops shot that protester in the head the other night. Now we know today they have a man in custody. It was a career criminal who was on the streets who shot him in the head, according to the cops.
Sure. This is happening because we don't have leadership in this country. We don't have the President of the United States saying to people, wait, remain patient. Situations like this take a couple of weeks at least, sometimes more than that, to figure out the just result. Justice can't be accomplished except maybe, you know, back in the West in the 1830s on the street.
Right.
And this is why we have a criminal justice system, and this is why we're a civilized country. So let's wait until all the facts come in. I heard the African-American police commissioner or chief of Charlotte explain what seemed to be a rational reason for why this African-American police officer shot another African-American. Now, if he's right, then somebody's got to be concerned about the life of the African-American police officer as well. And all I hear is we're all concerned about the life of the guy who got shot. Well, what about the guy who possibly almost got killed, who's putting his life at risk to save us? Doesn't his life count for something? And shouldn't we at least, like, calm down and wait and find out? And
what do you make of it's sort of an anecdotal evidence argument where people say, look, it may not have happened in this case, but we're sick of black men winding up shot dead by cops in situations where they thought they had a gun, they didn't have a gun, the gun wasn't pointing at them, etc.
Well, I'm very sympathetic to that, and I think any police officer who shoots in an unjustifiable way, like the person who got indicted in Tulsa the other day, should be indicted.
You put a lot of cops in jail.
How about 70? And a couple when I was mayor, one for 25 years. Police officer who acts improperly, and that's what the justice system determines, should go to jail. But in most of the situations you're talking about, it turned out that the police officers were innocent. Let's take Baltimore, for example, and Freddie Gray. Hillary Clinton announced that they were guilty almost unequivocally before she had any facts. All 5 of them, charges dropped. 3 of them were acquitted in a trial before an African-American judge, and she's yet to apologize for that. It's that kind of rhetoric from Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama that's produced the racial division that we have in America today. We didn't have this racial division 9 years ago. This is much worse than we had 9 years ago. And I lay it right at the foot of our leadership, of the kind of stuff that Barack Obama says, the kind of stuff that Hillary Clinton says, the fact that she wants to go to Charlotte in
just
the
getting
middle.
this. Now, just getting this in my ear in the wake of the mayor saying that, she's now saying she won't go. So
well, that's good, but her instincts were to go and politicize it.
I got to ask you. You're working with Donald Trump on debate prep. Are we gonna? I would love to be able to see that. Well, are we gonna have any surprises on Monday?
Of course, we're gonna have surprises.
Oh, we are.
Of course, we're gonna have surprises.
Can you give us a hint?
Of course not. Well, you think we're gonna go into this without a couple of surprises?
Is somebody playing Hillary Clinton?
No.
Is it you?
We prepare. Not that I haven't worn a dress before. However,
we have seen that.
However. Donald Trump has his way of preparing, and he's doing it, and he's doing it very, very well. And he'll be well prepared. Now, she's a career politician. She's debated a lot longer than he has in a lot more situations. So I think you should expect that she would be really a terrific debater. And I think, as you know, Donald Trump always has at least one or two cards up his sleeve. So just watch out.
We will watch out, and we're looking forward to watching the whole thing Monday night. Great to see you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. So we're also hearing claims that police would not have opened fire like we saw there had it been a white man with a gun. Do you believe that? Dana Lash and Richard Fowler take up that debate next when we come right back with another tense night in Charlotte. Of marches in Charlotte, North Carolina, a new fight has erupted after Washington Post columnist Eugene Robinson said that the police would not have opened fire in Charlotte, North Carolina, had it been a white man with a gun. Writing, quote, "In America, gun rights are only for white people." Dana Lash is the host of Dana on the Blaze and the author of Hands Off My Gun. Richard Fowler is the nationally syndicated radio talk show host and senior fellow at the New Leaders Council. Richard, do you agree with Eugene?
Well, I think Eugene wrote a very, very interesting piece, and I think it's a piece that's thought-provoking, and I think this is actually something that me and Dana might agree on. While I don't agree with the Second Amendment, I believe everybody should have access to it, and beyond that, there should be due process. So if you do have a gun in a state where